Welcome everyone to another episode of Sin Permiso, a Latina lifestyle podcast. Today I have someone super interesting, a man who wears many hats, Jose Perez. Welcome.
Thank you, Peggy, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I don't even know how to start, with all the titles that you have. So basically, you're the CEO of Rhodes. You're the owner of Ramey's Plumbing. You've got Mass Safety Signage Company. You also are opening up a bar on Calm Ave. Sunset Cantina, right?
Sunset Cantina. It's been there for over 40 years. So it's been a long-lasting tradition for the people in Calm Ave.
It's going to be exciting. So we're going to have a lot of college students over there, I'm sure. You also are part owner of Doggy
Port, which
Port.
is right at
Tell us
Doggy
about
Daycare
that.
in East Boston. It is the only doggy daycare in East Boston, and is located right around Summer Street up in near Maverick Station. So it's been a pretty cool gesture there.
That's cool. Any other businesses at hand while we're on the subject?
We do have a Boston CDL driving school, which essentially teaches folks how to get their commercial driver's license. And most importantly, we have a nonprofit that we recently launched. It's been about a year or so, which is called We Reach. And in essence, what we're doing there is providing opportunities for the Latino community and Black and Brown community that will allow them to get particularly different jobs than what they used to. So we're trying to promote workforce development. We're trying to make sure that folks have different opportunities, and we're doing this through different avenues. So we're very excited.
Super exciting. You're a very, very busy man. So it's interesting to have someone as diverse as you, and someone who's also not only has the Latino money mindset, right? Because it's all about, making money and saving for our retirement and finding different avenues and diversifying our income. But you're also involved with programs for the community where you can get the community involved, small business involved. And we can talk a little bit more about that. But you rolled up today in your Ducati. And so, you may wear a lot of hats, but it seems like
I gotta have fun. If I don't have fun, then I'm not living. At the end of the day, what is it worth for if you're not living, right? So listen, the winter's getting here. I gotta take advantage of that, and just a little bit of fun in the morning before I go to work and when I go back down. So
that's right. Nothing like a brisk ride in October, because I know it was cold this morning. But back to the fun part. Listen. I don't know you that long. I admire you. You're one of those people that I've met during my business trajectory that I admire. But about fun, we had a lot of fun in Croatia. A lot of listeners don't know. We spent a week on a boat in Croatia in July, and that was plenty of fun. People say to me, "Oh, Peggy, you're always traveling. You're here, that." But you know what? Not to be cliche, but work hard, play hard. It's all about keeping the zest, the fun in life, because that's what it's about. Hard work. We work hard so we can have financial freedom, right?
That's right.
That's what it is. And part of financial freedom is having fun. But let's hear about how it started, how it all began for the Perez family, your money mindset. What did you learn from your parents growing up?
So listen, first of all, the admiration is mutual, right? I look up to you, and a wolf recognizes a wolf when they see one, and it is what it is.
You look up to me because I'm only slightly older than you.
Just a tiny bit, right? You could be my, 1-year-old older sister.
Older sister.
Right? I come from a traditional family. My mom and dad are still together, and I'm happy to say that. But in reality, they came about and they says the typical Latino household: go home, study hard, get your education, go get a working job, and go from there.
Estudia,
right?
mijito, estudia, verá.
I know, si no estudia, no le va bien. But then you start kind of molding out of that, and you say, well, that's kind of cool, but you know what? Reality is 6 figures, as sexy as it sounds, might not cut it for me. I have expensive habits, and I like to travel. And
lavish
whatnot.
tastes.
And one of the best things I got from my parents, particularly from my dad, he basically looked at me, the guy, honest to say, and perhaps it's a little secret to develop, he's frugal as they come. The guy's frugal, right? So he goes, I'm not going to give you any money, ever, but I'm going to teach you how to work. And boy, he did, right? Talk about child slavery. That guy made us work for weekends.
Child labor laws being broken.
God, not one bit. Weekends, nonstop, and you will work the entire weekend, and then you'll be like, so where's my compensation? He'll pull up like a 20. I'm like, dude.
Your compensation is you live here and I feed you.
Exactly. You ever gotten that? Desde que usted iba acá, le va a dar el techo, la comida, and then you're like,
no me pida
what's
más.
up, right? What's going on? So he taught us a very important lesson, and from there on, we knew we had to kick ass. We knew we had to rock it. So my first job was at 12, right? My brother's first job was right around the same. He used to work overnights, right? I used to work selling subscriptions in the newspaper. Then I got promoted to Mickey D's, right?
Oh, shoot.
So I did the McDonald's time, and I loved it because
McDonald's time.
Yeah, it taught us all about different structure and different things. So that was phenomenal. And then eventually I went into the city of Boston and worked as a librarian for many, many years. But that got me through school.
How was that?
It was fantastic, you know. I never met a 18-year-old that had like 6 weeks vacation. So it worked out well, but it got my education through, right? But I still hustle. I still worked weekends. I still worked nights after I got out, right? For me, it wasn't just enough. It wasn't just about, okay, this is kind of be good for me. No, I need a little bit more. So I was always on the hustle. I was always doing some things, right? And then from my mom, I inherited the beauty of knowledge and academia. She's an attorney. She's a retired attorney now.
Your eloquence.
I would say so. I would say so, right? And eventually we just said, all right, I got to go keep doing my school. So I never stopped going to school, right? I'm not one of those folks that said, don't go to school, don't do that. I like school. I enjoy school. But I will say, don't go to school if you don't have a passion for it, right? Don't waste your time there.
Don't go to school just to go to school.
No, not to check the box or because your parents want it. But if you have that urge, explore it, right? So I did explore it.
Well, you can't be a doctor if you don't go to school.
That is
there's
right.
certain passions that people have that obviously school is a prerequisite. It's necessary. And then there's hustlers like me who not necessarily, never went back because I started making too much money. But then, like you said, the education doesn't stop because you not necessarily educate yourself in college.
You went to your school for sure.
I went to my school. I paid my dues, and I continuously, go back and take my courses and everything I need to do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to know that you loved learning, you loved school, and you knew how to, utilize that and commingle that with being a hustler.
100%, 100%. I always say people, you either pay for the lesson or you pay for the mistake. The choice is yours. You're going to pay for something, right? And we all do it different ways. There's no right or wrong or how you're doing it. And essentially, if you are actually generating progress. Unfortunately, our communities are driven by traction, right? And traction is where we start going in circles and getting used to different things, but that's not really what we want. What we want essentially is to say, started here, we went to here, here's what I actually accomplished, right? And that's the beauty of part, right?
That's it. So what was next for you after that?
After that, I worked for the Department of Revenue as identity theft and fraud specialist.
Oh,
right?
didn't know that.
So I was the guy that showed up and essentially audit your business. And
So
audit
that's
someone's
where
taxes.
you learned how businesses worked in
I
and
learned
out,
a lot,
and
but
how they can be bettered.
I hated it at the moment. I was not an accountant person. My undergrad was in criminal justice. And I met a very good friend. She was being promoted as the chief of data integration for the Department of Revenue. And she was awesome. She says, "You need a job?" And I said, "Of course I need a job."
Don't we all?
She hires me, and this was more like an accountant job than anything else. And I'm like, all right, this is not good. And then I realized that people were taking me to these things because I spoke Spanish. So the language is important, guys. So they would teach me that just come by, translate, and you learn a little bit of things and whatnot. And that's how I learned a lot. So essentially, we'll go to the bodegas, to the nightclubs, and we will ask business owners about different things. And I'm like,
So you learned right there that there was a need, right? That the bodega owner, that the nightclub owner had no idea what he was doing. He didn't know how much he was making. He didn't know how much was net, gross profit, how much he was spending. And I think this is where you might have saw that need.
yeah, well, that was an initial opening side of things, right? But at that moment, I didn't understand because I wasn't into it. I wasn't passionate about it. When I left, I got called from someone, and they became a client. That was my first client to that side. And they said, "I'm in trouble. I got audited. I need your help." And I said, "I don't know what I can help you with, but sure, I'll show up." Well, it turned out I knew more than the average Joe, right? Taxation is humongous, right? So I was able to show up. In summer, we saved this person over $150,000 in liability. Whoa. So I kind of want to say that I impressed them, right?
Yeah.
And then the rest is history. Then I decided later on to launch Roads, but mainly through that trajectory of saying, I think our community is totally disadvantaged, and then we need to provide resources and information for them, right? So it's been a good journey.
What have you found has been some of those moments? I mean, you obviously saved somebody $150,000. Has there been any other moments where you've seen, you felt like, wow, I'm proud. This has all led me to this road, no pun intended, of being able to help my community and see that this is where there's a need. And, maybe I helped, 10 to 20 different business owners. Was there a moment when you were like, wow, this really is all come full circle?
Well, we've been able to do a lot of impactful stuff for the community, right? As they say in English, not to shoot my own horn, right? But when we were running DPV, which is a conjunction effort of a family-owned business, and then now is owned totally by my brother, right?
Which is your livery business.
Correct. So for the folks that don't know
Yeah, we didn't
this,
mention that one.
right? Basically, what this is, if you guys are around the community, you'll see a bunch of black buses with a bunch of flowers that go for the casino. Well, that happened to be ours, right? And we grew that company in over 4 states and over 260 people that are employed there now and growing, right? But that was the 12th largest Latino business in Massachusetts. Right?
Impressive.
And I am probably 100% able to confirm that it's probably the largest Colombian business there.
Congratulations.
That's a good win, right?
That's a win.
That was all through the hard efforts of contracting, relationships, bidding, and all that. We got one of the largest transportation bids in the history of Massachusetts. So that allowed us to do a lot of things. But we were exposed to business. We were exposed to contracting. We were exposed to attorneys, to legal, finance, all that. And then eventually we said, okay, not a lot of people are, right? And then when we started talking to different communities, we realized that that was a big, big issue, right? And we said we have to do something about that. And that's what we're doing here today.
That's exciting. That's interesting. So amongst that, all these other businesses, what do you think, Jose, as far as like your 5-year, your 10-year, because I mean, people are listening to you and they're assuming you're definitely over 40. What are you, like 31, 32 years old?
31 years old.
You're 31 years old and
Happy
you've
to
accomplished, happy to report, you've accomplished all of this, you have all this under your belt and all this learning. What do you see moving forward as your 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan?
So we have a little bit of a coalition going on. We don't know how long this is going to take, but what we do want to see is start creating more opportunity for folks like us, right? One of the big issues that our community needs is access to capital, right? I would love to be either the founder or associated with funding the first Latino bank, 100% dedicated to Latino investment.
Ventures.
That's right. It could be VC or it could be just overall term debt, right? In reality, we all have great ideas. We all want to do these things. We want to execute them. We have no idea how to start it, right? And if we could be the pioneers of that, I think that will give me a lot of satisfaction. At the end of the day, I'm trying to write my ticket as long as I can, right? We're here. I don't know for how long or how little, but I want to do everything I can in my lifespan, right? And if I could leave with a nice trajectory and a nice parting gift, hey, why not? I have completed, right? So We Reach is one of them. There's an organization that's doing workforce development, and the other one's going to be certainly providing access opportunities for Latinos.
Well, you bring in a good subject because I'm involved with an organization called NARAP, and when we have, masterminds or when we have events or when there's latitude in these, nationwide events, we all discuss that access to capital. What can we do to change the narrative to implement more access to capital, for the Latinos? And they're working on something, and I'm involved with something called the Angel Investment Fund, and it's funding like all Latino Shark Tank and startups, etc., things like that. You hit the nail on the head with that. Because a lot of the other diversity groups, the Asians, they band together, right? They have their businesses. I mean, we can go back to the Jews who, they obviously know how to work together and they're able to build. But the Latinos, we've been this ethnic group
Disengaged.
that has been very disengaged amongst each other, that don't necessarily understand the meaning of teamwork and sharing, and it's all to each his own. But if we're able to establish more of that, like you said, and able to get together and start some type of investment coalition bank to be able to do the startups and obtain this access to capital, can you imagine with our work ethic, with our creativity, where we could be?
Totally agree, right? We always have to ask what comes first, the chicken or the egg. We do want to provide funding. We do want to provide resources, but there's some key elements prior to that must happen, right? A lot of it is organizational driven, right? Unfortunately, our community is disconnected from reality and as well disconnected from opportunities because we don't know what we should be doing. We don't know how to put together a P&L. We don't know how to put together a
Lack of
balance sheet,
education.
right? We have businesses that have been run for over 10, 15 years that never been incorporated, right? They have never
unbelievable.
happened. So they go and apply for a loan because they're growing and the banker says, who are you? Where's your balance sheet?
Show me.
Exactly. And as we all know, and unfortunately, banks will tend to give you money when you don't need it, right?
Always.
When you need it, they're gonna say, sorry, your financials don't look up to par. We need to be able to create that particular instruction before they go for a loan or lending that will allow them to create opportunities for further development, right? And right now, those are not being put out there. We're starting to get a little bit better. We're starting to have more opportunity. I think the pandemic showed us that if you had your stuff in order, you were gonna get a lot of money. If your stuff was all over the place, good luck to you, right? And that's what we're here today, so we'll see.
Exactly. So a lot of Latinos, the way they run their business, obviously we've discussed this, is because of a lack of education, because they weren't taught this or they weren't taught that. And then there's also the fear, right? The money mindset of the Latino is fear of growth. Fear of going on to the next step. It's already been proven. Statistics show that the average Latino company begins small and stays small. There's always a lack of growth. What have you found has been, with the people that you've spoken with, one of their largest fears when running a business or when it has to do with growth?
The biggest one is debt, right? From our inception, I would say, culturally, right, they would teach you that debt is bad.
That is bad.
Right? Stay away from debt. You don't want to be in debt because, you want to pay what you owe. Completely agree with that. Unfortunately, there's some good debt that you should be belonging to.
A mortgage
right?
is a good debt?
Why not, right? And be able to keep enlarging that particular portfolio through that. Essentially, it will get paid off. It just doesn't have to be paid off by you, right?
Exactly.
But some folks don't understand
You
that.
got to use the bank's money
100%.
to create your own money.
Leverage someone else's dough, right? And the issue with our growth is like, okay, I want to grow this business, but you're waiting to save up $100,000 before you get there.
Keep waiting.
Good luck to you, right? And reality is to save $100,000 doing whatever you're doing takes time. It takes a lot of effort. So you might need to, rub some elbows, get a little bit into debt, start doing partnerships. That's just the way it goes, right?
Leverage your home. I tell
Yeah.
them all the time, go pull out an equity line. I got
Yeah.
an equity line, $400,000. Whenever I want to do this, I do that. I do this,
Yeah.
I do that. I try to explain to them, don't be afraid of that. You're going to pay interest on that, but you're going to be able to buy that other property, invest in this.
That's it.
I don't tell them to take the money out to buy a car or go on vacation.
Yep.
But definitely when you're going to make an investment, something that you know is going to bring you back capital, why not?
Yeah, and added to that, there's also partnerships that are also yielding returns, right? One of the few, right now we're looking to develop more things. As I mentioned, we have over 7 to 8 companies that we own today. We're exploring more ideas. And the biggest fundamental issue that we're finding with this is operators. So if I have a strong operator that comes to us and essentially says, guys, here's the idea. I think we could get this thing working out. I just need funding behind it. There's a lot of people that are willing to back you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's going to go say, okay, you put in the work, you do everything, you're going to have equity, and then we're going to go behind you. You might not make a lot of money on that deal, but on the next ones, you will, because now you're going to be at the table.
Yes.
Right?
You can't date every prom queen. You're always going to
That's
win.
it.
You're going to lose some, but you have to be prepared. That's the name of the game.
That's it. A buddy of mine used to says, if you're not in the table, you are in the menu. Right? And that is very true, right? So you
For
better
sure.
be sitting around in the table.
For sure. Jose, so we've got all kinds of listeners, right? We've got the wives, the moms, we've got the young entrepreneurs, we've got the student, we've got the business person like you and me. Everybody's in different trajectories of their lives. But for whoever we have listening today, let's say we have someone that wants to share this with their young daughter, their young son. If you were able to give a piece of advice to a young Latino coming up, what would that be?
So I learned this many years ago from a very smart man, and essentially he says, in order to be successful in life, you need to have 3 things, right? You need to know what you want, right? You need to desire with extreme passion, and you need to pay the expenses, right? And that always stuck with me, right? Doesn't matter what you choose to do. That is irrelevant, right? If you want to be the best attorney, the best nurse, doesn't really matter, right? But how about you want it? What the hell are you willing to do for it, right? And how are you going to execute this thing? Unfortunately, the world is full of talkers. And we all want to be $1 billion company.
Everyone has great ideas.
Yeah, but then they put so many ifs why they would not accomplish those ideas, right? And the doers are the ones that essentially get the credit for it, right? Because they're not worried about the typos. They're not worried about the mistakes. They're not worried, oh my God, my profile is not on point. Oh my God, my social media. They don't care about that stuff. They say, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to figure it out by when I'm going to do it. But it's going to get done, right? They say the poor worry about the how, the rich worry about the who, right? And in essence, that's what we need to make sure that we're doing. Who will be in charge of these particular tasks that essentially generate yield returns for our generations, right? So, yeah.
So you heard it, guys. You got to execute. You got to be a doer. Don't worry about the details. Just get out there, do it. And you know what? Make sure that you want it bad enough, that it's something that you want to do, something that you have a passion for, so that you can execute with everything you have. Jose, you have gone so far. Your trajectory is long. Your sheet is long. Your resume so far at 31 years old. I can't imagine what we will be talking about 10 years from now. But what I can say is that I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to call you a friend. And I'm really, really thankful that you came here today, that you spoke your mind, that you gave us a little bit of what fuels you, what you're doing, what interests you. And I really want to ask you to continue to represent the Latino community the way you've been doing, especially, you're Colombian, which is near and dear to my heart. But keep it going, keep being a badass, keep inspiring, keep motivating us. And thanks again for being in Sin Permiso, because you've done it your way. Sin Permiso.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time. What you're doing here is impressive and indeed important. One of the best things that we could do is change the narrative, right? And the narrative needs to yield a different viewing. And what you're doing today is proving to people that many of us could actually make it. Many of us could be out there. So what you're doing, thank you, and I applaud your efforts.
Thank you.
So.